Okay, welcome back. Here I got the lever gun. This is going to Louthan's Gunworks. They all just Gary Louthan and Brian Miller, the Wolf Prairie Companion channel owner, and now media shooter for Palmetto State Armory. They just got to take a lever gun class with Chris Costa. And Chris Costa sends his guns to Louthan Gunworks, and I'm going to send this one to him and have him slick up the action, because there was a couple of things that happened when I test fired it, and then we'll get to go out and review this fine gentleman. So that's coming up. Today I want to talk about I do a segment every Tuesday with Super Dave Harrington. If you're unfamiliar with Super Dave, this is Super Dave.
Hey, this is SDave Harrington here. I'm still in Camden, Tennessee. I'm out here at the Tactical Response Range facility by myself. Means I got to be careful.
Now, Super Dave is not a fancy guy. He doesn't get out there and run optics. He doesn't get out there and have a flashlight on his gun or anything. Really, truly. His primary gun, his gun of choice, is the Glock 45 9mm. And it's basically a box stock gun, such as this one, where the only thing he has changed, and he hadn't changed the trigger, the only thing he's changed are the sights, which I've changed my sights to XS big dot sights because they work best for me. And so here is my box stock Glock. My other one of the 45 Persuasion, that's the Terran tactical gun. You know. Now, a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, Dave had a friend who was a Kydex guy, and he built something for Dave called the Super Dave rig. The Super Dave rig is designed based upon Dave's experience as a career-long special operations guy in the Army. He and I were in the Army at the same time. That's how far back he goes. He joined 6 years before I did, which, yeah, that sounds about right. He's a little older than I am. And he stayed in until 2003. So he saw various things. And in special operations, there's things that he did that nobody knows about. But he would go into various theaters, and what he would find is that in that setting, when you don't have that much of a resupply coming in a timely manner, he needed to do some things to mitigate that slow response. Then on top of that, you look at things, and he looks at these things, and I worked in military intelligence, believe it or not. And you look at things like the Nairobi, Kenya, Westgate Mall attack. You look at things like the dismounted two-man team attack in Mumbai, where they had everybody broken off into two-man teams and they were hitting at various places, various times.
American passports. Say anyone who had a British or American passport, they wanted to know. So I guess they were after foreigners, yeah?
A tight security cordon around the hotels as firefighters worked to rescue guests trapped inside. The night also bringing claims of responsibility from the previously unknown Deccan Mujahideen. An eerie quiet descends on the usually bustling city as Wednesday's nightmare continues into Thursday.
And you come to realize that carrying a microgun, and that's it, as your daily carry, in some cases may not be the thing to do. Other cases, it may be perfectly okay to do that. But when Super Dave goes out and about, he has gotten used to doing this way. Now, what I have laid out in front of me is the Super Dave rig. Now, Super Dave's guy that built his first rig has unfortunately passed away. And this one was built, Super Dave is using this guy to build him. He apparently makes a very good copy. That is Talon Tactical, Brian Murphy. Go check that out, talontactical.com, if you want to look at this. Do not expect a huge selection of holsters or anything else, because these are all designed to be two things. They're easier to wear because they're smaller. Form factor is smaller. And at the same time, they're designed to be individualistic. So there's no shingles. There's no, as far as I know. Brian, if I'm wrong, I apologize. So here we have let's get it spun around here. We have a Core Essentials belt, which is a ratcheting belt, which I kind of like. They've been a sponsor of the show before. And, well, this is the way Dave runs it. So, he's right-handed. So, I'm doing this off-body so you get to see. He has 5 magazine pouches on the back. Now, what's going to happen is this first magazine pouch, that's what he's going to load the weapon with. So, now his 4 near ones are there. He has the holster, which is a very low-profile holster. The gun fits into it quite well. You have a very positive retention, and he has no active retention built into the holster. He's not worried about somebody snatching the gun. And then you have 2 more magazine carriers in the front. So for Dave, when Dave is doing this, and we're putting it up here because of camera angles and such stuff, he's going to start from his left side, and that's where he's going to be feeding his gun in most cases. If he does have to pull out, like if he gets behind some sort of cover or something in the middle of and now, for all of you that are out there going, hey, Bill, that's not self-defense, doesn't go that long. That's true. That's absolutely true. We're not talking about self-defense. We're talking about the fact that when I go out, when you go out, we don't know what we're going to see that day. Now, Super Dave has gotten very comfortable carrying this day in and day out. I mean, that's a little bit of stuff. And when you think about it, this is not that much. It's 7 magazines, 7 times 17. He's got 149 rounds. 149 rounds on tap. And if you listen to Clint Smith would tell you that'll go in a heartbeat in something like a Mumbai attack or a Westgate Mall attack. He uses this side as his sort of administrative side. So he's going to, this round, this magazine is first going in the gun. This magazine exists in case this first magazine, 1 runs dry, 2 malfunctions. Now that is the other case for spare magazines, because not all of them are going to run all the time. And as you know, I carry a mix of P-mags and Glock mags, and I've never had an issue with them. I don't know if I would do that if I was actually carrying and this was what I had and this is all it was going to be. So from here, if he gets into a situation where he does have a chance to reload, that partial mag is going to go in here, and if he hasn't already spent this one, this is going in the gun. And now he has a barrier between the magazines where he knows the furthest ones back are partially loaded and everything going forward is fully loaded. So that's how he's going to manage the magazines on this side. The 2 magazines on the right side, 2 magazines on the right side. Now these are in case you find yourself in a position where you can't reach your magazines on the left side. I never would have thought of that. Only Dave would have thought about that. Because Dave has this mind where he's constantly thinking about stuff that he's trying to do. The reason to carry a rig like this, and Dave does it day in and day out. There are some days when he may carry less ammo, and that's the thing about this. Because they're not connected, if you want to, you can take those 2 off and these 2 off and just have 3 or 2 or whatever you want to do. But Dave only carries outside the waistband, and Dave only carries with this rig and this holster setup, which is pure simplicity. It is absolute simplicity. Because you have all of these multiples in here, you do have to cinch up the belt to a certain degree to where everything is tight, because all of this is all going to be based on, its ability to not move. It's going to be based upon friction and your belt loops. Yeah. So, just a little thing, if you will, about this. Dave does one thing that nobody I know does, including me. Dave carries the way he trains, and he trains the way he carries. I carry inside the waistband most of the time. This is the way Dave carries day in and day out. So Dave has when Dave is on the range, when Dave is going to the grocery store, if Dave's in a gunfight, everything is the same day in, day out. This is when you start getting into this kind of thing where you're in that Miyamoto Musashi moment where you realize you're really dealing with a master of whatever the particular discipline he's got going on. And I sort of admire him for it. Well, I absolutely admire him for it because of that simplicity. I myself, I think the Glock 45 is the best Glock they make. And Dave does own other Glocks besides Glock 45s. He has a 26 that he carries on occasion. He lives in Florida, so he's always in a hot environment unless he's going out on a gig. And when he's going out on a gig, this is literally his around town rig, because he doesn't know what he's going to run into. And I would actually like to see a lot more of us adopt that idea, because we live in a very sort of tenuous time right now, and the fact that we don't know what we're going to see at any given time sort of dictates that maybe we need to open our minds a little bit and think about doing things the Super Dave way. Go check out Talon Tactical if you want to build a rig like this. It's not as expensive as you might think it is. I am embracing basic guns, although I still got stuff coming from Staccato and Chambers and all this other stuff. But I am embracing the basic guns. In any event, thanks for taking the time to look at this, and I am out of here.